Tonight on NBN, the teams are torn apart on The Voice Battle Rounds, followed by a double episode of The Big Bang Theory.
Tonight, a former detective accused of murdering a Sydney University student.
A gas main bursts into flames in a busy shopping plaza.
And the Knights speak for the first time about the departure of Nathan Tinkler.
Yeah, it's obviously sad for the club.
This is NBN News with Natasha Bayersdorf and Paul Lobb.
Good evening. A drug deal gone bad, a body floating out to sea, and a former policeman charged with murder. Those are the pieces of the puzzle surrounding the disappearance and almost certain death of student Jamie Gow. And tonight, police are searching for another former officer, disgraced detective Roger Rogerson.
Just after dawn, off Cronulla, a body wrapped in a blue tarp floating on the ocean surface, believed to be that of missing uni student Jamie Gow. And these are the last moments of his life, captured on CCTV.
We know that Mr Gow was taken to a location nearby, and at that location we believe he was murdered.
The vision shows a white station wagon creeping along a Padstow street. It pulls over. Soon after, Gow's car pulls up. He emerges with two other men thought to be Asian. Gow crosses the street carrying a bag and climbs into the white station wagon. It drives off. Later that night, two people returned to collect Gow's car. The 20-year-old was never seen again. Within hours, police believe he was dead. It was, according to Strike Force detectives, a drug deal gone wrong.
We believe there was a drug transaction and Mr Gow had those drugs with him when he went to the other car.
Those drugs, 3 kilograms of methamphetamine, have been seized. It was a highly secretive and meticulously planned operation. One of those allegedly responsible, former King's Cross detective Glenn McNamara, arrested by heavily armed detectives when they stopped a car in southern Sydney last night. Handcuffed, the 55-year-old put up no resistance and was taken to St George Local Area Command for questioning. By dawn, he was facing a charge of murdering Jamie Gow. A few hours later, fishermen spotted an object wrapped in blue tarp. It was brought ashore at the Water Police headquarters in Balmain for formal identification. As a serving police officer, whistleblower McNamara was instrumental in bringing down a number of corrupt King's Cross detectives during the Police Royal Commission, including Graham Chook Fowler. With McNamara in the dock this morning, the hunt switched to one of the state's most infamous detectives, Roger Rogerson, once feted, then hated, ex-Darlinghurst detective, now the focus of their search. Overnight, detectives raided the 73-year-old's Padstow home, seizing a car. Neighbours saw the whole thing.
We heard the commotion, 3-4 cars, and we can see the police sign very visible.
They came, did a search, took something away.
2 other cars were taken for forensic examination. Within hours, Strike Force detectives were boarding a plane for Brisbane, where it's believed Rogerson is currently staying on business. McNamara's family was at Cogra Court for his brief appearance this afternoon, his 2 daughters in tears. Tonight, he's behind bars, bail refused, charged with murder and possessing a commercial quantity of drugs. He's in protective custody.
It's been revealed homicide detectives are investigating the deaths of 2 women at a nursing home on the far north coast. Staff at St Andrew's Village at Ballina discovered the women, aged 77 and 82, unconscious in their beds on Saturday, May 10. They called emergency services, but the pair was pronounced dead at the scene. Police from the Richmond Local Area Command are working with homicide detectives and are urging anyone with information to contact Crime Stoppers. The Newcastle Knights have trained for the first time since the departure of Nathan Tinkler. Jared Mullen describing the mining magnate's decision as sad for the club. With the Knights, Surfest and Patinack Farm now missing from Mr Tinkler's sporting portfolio, only the Jets remain, but they maintain it's business as usual.
Nathan Tinkler saved the Jets from almost certain demise in 2010, forking out a rumoured $5 million for the licence. But it's been a tumultuous relationship. The former billionaire handed back the licence 2 years later, believing he'd paid too much for it in the first place.
The A-League competition is financially unsustainable and the clubs are losing between $25 and $30 million per year.
The waters were eventually smoothed over, and as it stands, Mr Tinkler's Hunter Sports Group holds the licence until 2020. Unlike the Knights, there haven't been any problems with players or staff being paid, and publicly at least, it's business as usual. But will it last? Owning an A-League club could be a pretty good investment for the former billionaire if recent movements are anything to go by. Earlier this year, English Premier League giants Manchester City bought the struggling Melbourne Heart for around $11.5 million. And the FFA is tipped to sell the hugely popular Western Sydney Wanderers in the coming months for as much as $15 million. The Football Federation has always maintained it needs the Jets.
There have been some issues around Nathan's businesses, but we've been monitoring those and the assurances are in place about the Jets.
Newcastle is widely regarded as the birthplace of football in Australia. So many internationals and past greats have come from the area. So it's imperative we have a represented team from Newcastle in the A-League.
Meanwhile, the Knights return to training today, hoping to get some clarity on their club's future soon.
And once all this stuff gets sorted out, I'm sure the club's going to be in a better position for it. So hopefully we can sort it out sooner rather than later and everyone can start wanting about football then.
Kate Haberfield, NBN News.
And we'll have more on Knights training later in sport. Plans have been unveiled for an industrial park on 300 hectares of land adjoining the Tomago aluminium smelter. The proposed Hunter Corporate Park would be developed on Old Punt Road in 3 stages over 15 years, creating up to 4,500 jobs. A development application will be lodged with Port Stephens Council this week.
A Muswellbrook community group campaigning for a new hospital in the town says the showground site, which is up for sale, would be the perfect location. It's written to the state's health minister urging the government to purchase the site.
This is what the New South Wales government should be doing, buying this site and helping the town out in a time of need.
The group wants the port sale to help fund the hospital's construction.
Muswellbrook vets have described an outbreak of parvovirus as an epidemic. As many as 100 dogs have contracted the disease in the last month, and experts are warning dog owners to have their pets vaccinated.
Jenkins isn't a well puppy. Last week he contracted the highly contagious parvovirus, a disease which attacks the intestines and cardiovascular system.
The parvovirus erodes the guts so much that they end up bleeding out, and unfortunately that blood loss in such a small puppy is absolutely severe.
But Jenkins is recovering and he's one of the lucky ones. Up to 100 dogs in Muswellbrook have fallen ill with the virus in the last month. Many haven't survived. Vets put the outbreak down to people not vaccinating their pets.
The ones that we don't treat, the mortality is nearly 100%. So it's very important to get them to a vet as quickly as possible. The ones that we do get in, depending on the age and the circumstance, the ones we can actually pull about 80% of them through.
The local animal shelter has also seen several cases. It's working with vets to educate owners. The virus can survive in soil for years.
It's a heart-wrenching, ugly, awful, terrible disease for the staff to have to deal with, or for the dog itself. It's just, undescribable.
Both Pet Medical and Barn Vets are now offering $40 vaccinations until the end of June. Vivian von Drainen, NBN News.
Health experts are urging us not to be complacent when it comes to our eyes. Macular degeneration currently affects almost 40,000 people across the Hunter, but researchers found most people are unaware of a simple test that can make a huge difference in early detection.
Getting our eyes checked is something we know we should do, but often don't get around to it. But for those over 50, it's becoming increasingly vital.
Pop your chin onto the chin rest here. We're going to take some images of your macula.
Macular degeneration is the leading cause of blindness and severe vision loss in Australia, affecting more than 1.15 million people aged over 50. That's expected to rise rapidly with our ageing population. Annual eye checks are especially important because in the early stages of degeneration there are often no symptoms, but there can be some signs.
But certainly central blurred vision is one, distortion of your vision is another, and certainly if you're reading print or books and letters or words were becoming patchy or missing, that could be cause of a problem.
While there's no cure, early detection is key so the deterioration can be slowed. There's also a simple at-home test called the Amsler grid, which can show signs of a problem.
Are any of the lines around that centre dot wavy or broken or distorted?
But research during Macular Degeneration Week has found just 1% of those in the risk group know about it. Experts are urging us to get regular eye checks, quit smoking and lead a healthy diet to maintain good eye health.
Reducing those saturated fats, getting plenty of exercise and having a balanced diet with lots of antioxidants.
Coming up, why a federal MP smuggled a fake pipe bomb into Parliament.
Volvo's end of financial year sale is on now. Come in for great offers across the entire Volvo range, like up to 3 years free fuel and 3 years or 60,000 kilometres free scheduled servicing. That's up to $7,000 worth of inclusions. Plus, enjoy a range of Volvo's luxury features that come as standard. Head down to your local dealer and find out why Volvo is Roy Morgan Car Manufacturer of the Year.
Wow. Tell me something good. This is yum. Coles brand award-winning banana bread. Tell me made with Aussie bananas with a soft, moist texture. Tell me something good. Unbelievably delicious. Coles brand award-winning banana bread. This week just $4.
What's hot for winter with Beacon Lighting's inspiring new collection. The season's most exciting designer styles and 30% off your second light. Catalogue sale ends next Sunday.
Get this. Been married 1 week. We just moved into our new home. My wife says, pack your bags. How lucky am I? Out of there, literally. She found the greatest great rate home loan. So we get, not win, we get a bonus holiday. Honeymoon sorted. Plus, fewer fees, a brilliant rate, and a bonus holiday. It's too easy. For a great rate home loan and a holiday you can share. It's too easy with the Grader. Hurry, offer ends soon.
At Hogs Breath, we're serving great value right now for only $19.90. A choice of 5 fresh, new tastes. Lunch and dinner, 7 days. The $19.90 delicious dishes. True Hogs Breath value.
A construction worker has suffered serious burns after a gas main exploded in a busy shopping plaza in Sydney's north. The inferno raged for more than an hour after the blast at Lane Cove.
A tower of fire shoots high into the air. Lunchtime and a busy shopping hub is in lockdown.
I turned around and a second later I felt this massive heat and it just went completely up in flames. I saw the reflection in the glass opposite side of the road. It was like completely on fire.
Earlier, an ominous sign, gas rushing from the main. Before the explosion, triggered by a rupture in the pipe at a construction site in Lane Cove Plaza, sending a column of flames almost 10 metres high, licking the tops of trees dangerously close to nearby buildings.
We had a very intense fire burning from this gas main. It was threatening a number of buildings nearby.
Emergency crews swarmed the row of shops on Longueville Road after 000 was flooded with calls. Firefighters deliberately let the fire burn itself out for more than an hour as crowds watched on. Nearby schools were on alert.
If we extinguished the gas would continue to leak. It would spread to other areas and perhaps cause further explosions.
The seat of this excavator is clearly burnt and it's believed that's where the man who was injured was working today when this fire suddenly erupted. No doubt this site will be tools down until engineers and fire investigators can figure out exactly what happened. The man is in a serious condition in Royal North Shore Hospital.
He's got superficial burns to his arms and one of his legs.
All roads have been reopened. Lizzie Pearl, NBN News.
There were extraordinary scenes as federal parliament returned today, with a senator smuggling a fake bomb into the building. The move was a protest over changes to security designed to save $400,000.
Madam Speaker. Everyone expected an explosive post-budget sitting. No one expected this. Fiery Liberal Senator Bill Heffernan dramatically showing what he says are the dangers of budget cuts to Parliament House security screening.
Most people working in this building know that it's safe. I don't think it any longer is. And to demonstrate that, this morning I brought in what could be, I brought this through security, a pipe bomb. I also brought in...
They were fakes, but brought in unchecked.
You can do what you bloody well like. This building is no longer secure.
Coalition MPs feel anything but secure, selling a budget to voters not listening.
I can't say they're overjoyed. We're trying to sell it. It is a hard slog.
There's no doubt Coalition MPs are uneasy and Labor's trying to stir it, urging them to rise up as the government so far refuses to blink.
Coalition MPs need to put politics back and put the nation's interest forward.
Question time predictably was heated, dominated by the budget.
There will be silence on my left.
But it was overshadowed by a $600 a plate Liberal fundraising dinner Speaker Bronwyn Bishop hosted on budget night in her suite of offices, free of charge, attended by the Prime Minister.
The tawdry way to save a $600 room hire fee. We have a right to know what you are doing with the independence of your office and how you are trashing it.
Although I find it a bit rough to be lectured on morality from you, the member for Watson. Members may use their suites for whatever purposes they see fit.
Labor tried but failed to have it referred to the Privileges Committee. Lane Kelcart, NBN News.
Shocking details have been revealed about the killing of an Iranian asylum seeker at the Manus Island Detention Centre. The Immigration Minister today released a long-awaited independent review of February's brutal riots.
The phone vision of the riots is scratchy, but they were clearly very violent. 3 months on, there are some answers. An independent review says Reza Barati was brutally bashed, allegedly by PNG nationals working as guards. The group of alleged killers led by a Salvation Army employee. A witness told the review Mr Barati was hit with a stick, kicked in the head.
And then a rock was dropped on Mr Barati's head.
At least 69 others were injured between February 16 and 18.
These are terrible acts.
The review found no single cause, but says asylum seekers were angry. Their only options were to return home or live in Papua New Guinea, never to be resettled in Australia. It notes racial tension between the guards and detainees contributed to the violence.
Protesters were attempting to insult Papua New Guinean nationals with shouts of FUPNG, FUB baboon.
It is a centre that must be shut down.
Scott Morrison claims the former Labor government should have done more to beef up security at the centre after it announced its PNG solution.
It's under the watch of Minister Morrison that we have seen this facility melt down.
The report made 13 recommendations, mostly relating to security. All will be adopted by the government. Kerry Yaxley, NBN News.
A chilling picture is emerging of the 22-year-old who killed 6 students in a stabbing and shooting frenzy in California. Elliot Rodger, the son of a Hollywood director, planned to kill as many women as possible, citing a lifetime of rejection.
A grieving family returns to the scene their loved one was taken too soon. 20-year-old Christopher Martinez gunned down at this deli, his father laying down a picture vowing to continue to fight for gun control.
I think we all have a responsibility to take care of each other and to watch out for each other's kids.
As the shrine grew, more stories emerged of students dodging gunfire and rushing to help the wounded.
I saw the body on the floor. I saw a look of complete shock on every single person in that store.
There was security today at the spot sorority girls Veronica Weiss and Katie Cooper were murdered. Elliot Rodger had tried to get inside to kill all the girls here. He blamed for rejecting him and making him lonely. Thankfully, they didn't let him in.
Girls gave their affection and sex and love to other men.
It's also emerged he emailed his parents his 140-page manifesto outlining his chilling plan just before the shooting. They contacted police and were in a desperate dash from Los Angeles to Santa Barbara when they heard the terrible news.
Shots fired.
This is where Elliot Rogers' deadly rampage began at his apartment, fatally stabbing 3 roommates before getting into his BMW with his semi-automatic weapons and continuing the carnage. In all, there were 10 crime scenes in 10 minutes of terror before he crashed his BMW and shot himself dead. The son of a Hollywood director, at 22 he seemingly had it all, seen here on the red carpet of the Hunger Games.
He was really upset about why is the world so unfair to him.
But no help was enough as 6 young innocent lives were taken.
I didn't know your son, but from everyone that spoke to him, he sounds like a wonderful man. I just wanted to tell you that.
He was.
Ahead in the news tonight, World War I diggers identified a century on.
And 40 years since a famous shipwreck.
Kia is offering this Sportage SI at this great price, plus $1,500 cash back as we celebrate
Happy New Year!
end of financial year. Book a test drive today.
Looking for a simpler way to eat well this winter? Then sit back and leave it to Light and Easy. Our new winter menu can help you free up more time and lose weight. Full of delicious flavours, everything's ready to serve in just minutes. With over 100 meals to choose from and the convenience of online ordering, it's no wonder Light and Easy has proven so popular for over 25 years. To enjoy more time and a healthier lifestyle, order your favourites from our new winter menu at lightandeasy.com.au.
Sporting Bet have bet Warney $10,000 to take 50 paintballs.
Come on.
Oh, cracking hit that. And now here's a bet that will do no damage. Sporting Bet is offering money back if there's no points scored in the first 9 minutes of play in Origin Game 1. So if you're a Maroon chasing 9 or a Blue hoping to end a 9-year drought, with Sporting Bet, if it's 0-0 after 9, you'll get your money back. So download the app and get on Sporting Bet's 9-minute Origin special. There's no better bet than a Sporting Bet.
Every one of our 15,000 products comes with a guarantee. Like this pencil, this tablet, even these sticky notes.
Find a cheaper identical stocked item and we'll beat it by 5%.
Well, that's a good idea.
If you've got the big ideas, Officeworks has the lowest prices.
When it comes to servicing a new car, you need to get it right if you want it done by the book. You need the right qualifications, the right parts and the right oil. Now, the right oil for your car is Penrite, a better class of oil that's approved by leading manufacturers and used with confidence by C&C Mechanical, Metcalfe Street, Walsend, your local and independent mechanic, with the nationwide backing of Repco. Now that's the right choice.
Natural gas has the power to cook a meal in minutes, make a family home nice and toasty, and heat water, right down to the very last drop.
Tonight on NBN, the teams are torn apart on The Voice Battle Rounds, followed by a double episode of The Big Bang Theory.
A pregnant woman was sent flying after a hoon doing a burnout ploughed straight into her car at Wiseman's Ferry, west of Gosford. The reckless driving was caught on camera and has been condemned by police.
Burning rubber and smoke in the air as car after car fishtail their way up the main street at Wiseman's Ferry. But it all goes horribly wrong.
I knew that it was going to hit me. There was nothing I could do. I think I just braced myself.
Jo Wright and her boyfriend Ben York were watching the cars yesterday afternoon from the side of the road. She was standing near their parked car when a Mazda RX-7 lost control doing a burnout.
The front of the car clipped her feet and then she sort of rolled in the air kind of thing, like a 360 roll, and then smashed into the front of my car.
Jo is 2 months pregnant. She was taken to Hawkesbury Hospital, but remarkably escaped with just a couple of bruises.
She sounded a little bit nervous when I spoke to her, but she said, "It's all right, Nan." Sorry.
All right. All right.
Ben's car is a total write-off. His family furious at the stupidity of the other driver.
A car can be replaced. You can't replace a baby or its mum or my grandson.
There are skid marks here on the road from where the cars were doing burnouts. Around 1,000 car enthusiasts had gathered here for this rally, but police claim they had no warning from organisers that it was happening.
It's always disappointing to see that sort of behaviour, that hoon element, that just disregard that the messaging that we're trying to push out right across the community. Very disappointing.
They expect to charge the driver in coming days. Laura Tunstall, NBN News.
Newcastle has had its fair share of ships run aground, but none as enduring as the Cygna. Today marks 40 years since the ship washed ashore in a fierce storm and became part of the city's backdrop and folklore. Georgina Smythe joined a former NBN News reporter who was on the spot all those years ago for a special trip to the iconic wreck.
It's a story that's captivated us for 40 years. On the 26th of May 1974, a 53,000-tonne Norwegian bulk carrier is swept ashore during a violent storm that lashed the east coast.
Winds of up to 90 knots, tremendous winds. The highest level of sea swell surge off the coast of Newcastle that had been recorded.
28 crew members were airlifted in a dramatic rescue just off the beach.
She lies, broken-backed, beyond all hope of salvage, a mere 100 yards off the shore.
NBN News reporter Kay Duffy was there in the days that followed when the ship split.
Well, the Cygna saga has taken another very dramatic turn this morning when the ship actually broke in two.
She stayed in Salamander Bay for 2 years, but was then taken to Taiwan and broken up. We joined our former reporter Kay Duffy on a special trip to visit what's left of the famous wreck. Here she lies 40 years later, a rusty relic of a time long gone.
40 years on, looking at the poor old girl, perhaps she's weathered a little worse than I have.
For Kay, the sights and sounds from the early days are still vivid.
The thing that struck me most was the incredible groaning noise that came from the ship, just as if it was dying. And in fact it was.
History was repeated in June 2007 when the Pasha Bulker was washed onto Nobby's Beach, again the victim of a wild East Coast low.
If you respect the sea will respect you. In both those cases, the dangers of the sea and the sea itself were not respected.
But unlike the beaching of the Pasha, access to the Cygna was limited.
People were very much reliant on what they saw on NBN. People didn't have four-wheel drives and there were no roads in.
But with today's beach access, the landmark is a must-see in the Warramai Conservation Lands.
People come here very often. It's a really popular spot and we'll find that, families will gather together here and it'll be an iconic spot for people to meet. And people do say how much it's changed when they come in and they see it after a couple of years.
The old wreck may be a part of the landscape now, but in the sands of time, she's slowly falling apart.
Well, we've seen over the last 5 years a rapid decline in the size of it, and every now and then you do get pieces washing up on the beachfront, large chunks, which is surprising.
This once proud vessel is slowly falling down to the waterline. It's still no match to the salt water and winds, meaning this famous ship is likely to become history in the next few years and just a story to pass on to future generations.
We know it's not going to be there forever, so we will commemorate it with some interpretive signage once it's gone, definitely.
Georgina Smythe, NBN News.
Well, now to Gavin Morris for a quick look at our weather. And Gavin, another warm one today.
Yes, a good one for the beach, but no major storms, just a lot of warm air, all getting flushed out across the region. Ahead of this next system, increased high-level cloud throughout tomorrow. Some pretty gusty northwesterly winds, particularly for the Hunter, as the mercury continues to be on the higher side. Your local details in about 20.
Thanks, Gav. Ahead in the news, the Pope's bid to broker Middle East peace.
And in sport with Mike Rabitt, Steve Price shown the door by the Dragons.
Waterwise rules are coming July 1. Save it together, whatever the weather. Visit the Hunter Water website for more information.
First, they're sour. Then they're sweet.
Oh, thanks.
Sour Patch. Sour, sweet, gone.
Almost there.
Oh, you're there. Well, what are we waiting for?
Oslo's jackpot has stretched to a whopping $30 million. Will your numbers bring you a truckload of cash this Tuesday?
When the urge to smoke strikes, it strikes fast. That's why new Nicobate oral strips start to work fast. 50 seconds fast. New Nicobate oral strips are the first and only stop smoking aid in a strip. They dissolve fast, release nicotine fast. They start to relieve your urge to smoke in 50 seconds. So try new Nicobate oral strips today and start beating your cravings fast. 50 seconds fast.
Much better Nick last time I was here. That must have been a while ago. Yeah, guess it was. They used to have people look after the path and maintain it. They obviously don't anymore. So, which direction are we headed?
Authorised by A. Gardner, Sydney.
With the end of financial year and the World Cup in Brazil fast approaching, Kia is offering great savings. Yes, we could have done the obvious Brazilian dancer thing, but we think they'll sell themselves, don't we? Yep. Book a test drive today.
Political tensions have boiled over in the Thai capital Bangkok, with demonstrators confronting the military during heated street protests. At least 3 people were arrested in what was the largest show of dissent since the army seized power. The leader of the coup has now been officially endorsed by the Thai king. Pope Francis has paused to pray at the separation wall, the barrier that divides Israel from the West Bank. He's also volunteered the Vatican as a venue for talks between Israeli and Palestinian leaders, urging both sides to make greater efforts to end the conflict.
To finance, and the share market closed higher thanks to a good day for the big mining companies. Rio Tinto gained 41 cents, BHP Billiton finished up 26. The big banks also fared well, all recording gains except for Westpac. Commonwealth shares rose by 25 cents, the NAB by 5. The All Ordinaries Index ended up 20 points. And the Aussie dollar is up against the major currencies. It's fetching 92 US cents.
It was one of the worst days in our military history, the Battle of Fromelles, which claimed more than 5,500 Australian casualties. Now, almost a century after First World War diggers fell on the Western Front, the identities of 20 previously unknown soldiers have finally been discovered.
They are faces that have emerged from the violent anonymity of the First World War to reclaim their names that were interred with their remains. From DNA matching through generations of family members, these soldiers have been identified 98 years after making the ultimate sacrifice at the Battle of Fromelles.
Adding of the names of 20 further soldiers being announced today brings the total number to 144 of those 250 soldiers that have now been identified.
Warren Baker is now able to track his family's history through the missing piece of the puzzle that was Private Vinton Baker.
I kept going back to Fromelles and maybe there was something there, maybe he was calling, I don't know. I can't believe that I was there that time and didn't know he was there.
You do now?
I do now.
For Judith Davies, the confirmation of her uncle Sergeant David Anderson's identity is news she wished her mother and grandmother had learnt.
To know that he's been found at last is wonderful. To know really what happened is really the culmination of many, many years of wondering.
In military terms, the Battle of Fromelles achieved nothing. No ground was claimed, no diversion was delivered. Instead, it would reap 5,533 casualties, more than 2,000 of those killed in one of the costliest 24 hours in Australian military history. On the 98th anniversary of the action, the 19th of July this year, those 20 men will be buried with full military honours under tombstones that now bear their names.
It's important stuff, isn't it?
Great work.
Time for sport.
Microbits here.
Thanks, Tash. Thanks, Paul. Well, coaching an NRL team can be a precarious line of work, as Steve Price discovered today. The Dragons have handed his job to Paul McGregor for the rest of the season, with Laurie Daly mentioned as a possible full-time successor.
The Red V's dismal numbers under coach Steve Price don't lie. 36 losses from 58 games, 13th on the ladder, and a curiously expensive recruitment strategy. He couldn't survive.
We should make a change as soon as possible. Team performances, results have been unacceptable.
The Dragons board today cut Price and called in caretaker coach, Blues assistant Paul McGregor, also an assistant at the Dragons.
Yeah, I think he was shocked. Look, he was torn because Steve Price is a great mate of his.
It will be a whirlwind few days for McGregor. He'll take charge as Dragons head coach for the first time here in Wollongong tomorrow before heading back to Brisbane to fulfil his duties as Blues assistant coach.
He wants to come back and do his job on game night, which is very important for us.
Daly's endorsement comes as the New South Wales coach himself was thrust into the market to take over at St George Illawarra from 2015.
Interested in the job? No, mate, for me it's about New South Wales. And I'm committed here to get the job done.
Neil Henry and Tim Sheens are also in the mix, with the fans starting to chant, "Bring back Wayne Bennett," who delivered the 2010 premiership. Many are hoping today's shake-up could inspire the playing group to salvage the rest of the season.
I think it'll probably be a bit of a kick in the butt for them. I think they really probably realise now that they need to stand up, and the players are the ones that are on the field that are missing the tackles.
The Knights have returned to training for the first time since Nathan Tinkler walked away from the club. While Jared Mullen today defended the former Billionaires time as owner, he's more concerned with resurrecting Newcastle's season.
For a club seemingly in crisis, Newcastle's players were clearly happy to get back to work this morning. On Sunday, former Knight Adam McDougall had this to say about Nathan Tinkler.
He's come in, he's an arrogant. I'm not even going to go in what I think about him personally, but the way my discussions with him made me want to not have anything to do with the club. He's not a very nice person.
At this morning's session, Jared Mullen told a different story.
Yeah, it's obviously sad for the club. He's put a lot of money into the club and it's disappointing, but it's business as usual for us, and we're just got to worry about our football and get back to winning games, I suppose. The club's definitely in a better position now. We've got great facilities here. We've got a great coach and great players, so we just need to get the performance on the field now.
Last Friday, Mr Tinkler was widely criticised for allegedly sending abusive text messages to players, including Mullen.
It was laughable, I suppose. It was all a bit of friendly banter.
The mining magnate's departure means coach Wayne Bennett can opt out of his current deal at Newcastle. Steve Price's sacking at the Dragons has only fuelled speculation Bennett could move back to Cogra. Mullen is hoping he'll stay in the Hunter.
He's done a lot for my career already. He's put a lot of confidence in me as a player. So I'd love to have him here for a few more years, but that's up to him and his family. He's got his family to worry about, so we'll wait and see what happens there.
For now, the Knights are trying to focus on turning their season around, starting with Sunday's clash with the Warriors.
They're a tough team to beat in Auckland, but we'll go over there with a game plan. Hopefully we can execute it. I think we went over there 2 years ago, so we'll take a bit of confidence out of that and see how we go.
Mitchell Hughes, NBN News.
One of the keys to Origin is being able to turn a group of players from opposing clubs into a winning team. This year, the Blues have one head start. Halfback Trent Hodgkinson and fullback Jared Hayne were a combination in their junior days.
It's a combination that was created in more simple times. Trent Hodgkinson and Jared Hayne were teammates in the Parramatta Juniors, and they'll be trying to reproduce that boyhood magic on league's most unforgiving stage.
I was fortunate enough to play with Trent since I was 12 and played a couple of years at Parra with him in the juniors. So he's always had a calm head. Ever since we were young, he's always had a really calm, mature sort of head.
Hayne is an Origin veteran, Hodgkinson the rookie. But Hayne is confident that his old teammate has what it takes to slot into Origin and dominate.
He's a quiet bloke. He doesn't say too much. I think it's kind of funny at times when he's on the field, and he tends to talk as much in 80 minutes as he does all week. So it's always fun. I remember one time when he actually got angry on the field. I think we were about 13, and he actually swore for the first time I ever heard him swore, and took the mickey out of him for a bit.
Hayne flew into Origin as a teen. Hodgkinson took the hard road. Serious injury derailed him. He says without the support of his fiancée Chantel, he wouldn't have made it to the top.
He was down in the dumps a lot, and I think he was questioning himself and not so much his ability, but whether his body would allow himself to, get back into the game and do what he loves.
Danny Weidler, NBN News.
Coming up, Adam Scott confirms his status as world #1. And the World Cup Socceroos prepare for their first test.
Going about our business. Max was in the shed and I was in the house.
My insurance broker was right on to it.
They'd seen our business burning on the telly.
I just said, we've Google Earthed you, we know what's happened, everything's in place.
We helped Max see it through. Now let CGU help your small business. For a tailored insurance solution, talk to your insurance advisor or visit cgu.com.au.
You then down a bit, to me!
You can't make it to dinner? Dinner makes it to you. Dolmio Bolognese. We put the good things in, so you with a Dolmio grin.
Fair go. At Radio Rentals, everyone gets a fair go on all the essentials. How about this French door fridge from $15.86 a week?
I'm on benefits and I got a fair go.
Call 131 181.
Here we have the lovely air-filled kitchen, plenty of room for the fridge, and there is the bath, right next to the microwave. And here's the home office. It is lovely out here in the evenings. Now, there is a lot of interest in the property, but I think you could probably get it for around...
Finally, something that costs less than it should. The Tiguan from just $27,990 and with a 2.8% comparison rate. Or the Golf from just $22,990 for a limited time only.
Volkswagen, das Auto.
Looking for choice while you're out and about in Port Stephens? Compare local businesses, products and services. In just a few clicks, find the one that's nearest to you. Local directories, always your best local search.
Hunter Trade College Open Day. See our workshops that make the tradies envious and talk to our teachers and students. Hunter Trade College Open Day. Find out how you can get your HSC and start your trade career. Just Google Hunter Trade College Open Day.
Tonight's Sport Report, brought to you by Jeep. Don't hold back.
Adam Scott has validated his world #1 ranking by winning the Colonial Invitational in Texas. The Aussie nailed this putt on the second playoff hole against American Jason Duffner before an approach shot at the third set up the victory.
By Adam Scott. Well, there it is.
You're not kidding. Easy.
Right at it.
Scott then sank a tricky putt to become the first player to claim the PGA Tour's 4-tournament Texas Slam. At the Monaco Grand Prix, Sebastian Vettel retired with mechanical problems. For others, it was problems of their own making. Mercedes of Nico Rosberg and Lewis Hamilton once again had too much pace, but Australia's Daniel Ricciardo never stopped pushing his Red Bull to claim third spot. Rosberg now leads Hamilton by 4 points in the Drivers' Championship, with Ricciardo fourth. At the French Open, 19-year-old Nick Kyrgios produced too few winners against Milos Raonic. Kyrgios, the only Australian in action on day one, was beaten in straight sets by the Canadian 8th seed. Roger Federer cruised to his 59th career win at Roland Garros, beating Slovakia's Lukas Lacko in 3. Impressive as the Fed Express was, his twin daughters couldn't really get excited about it. Our Brazil-bound Socceroos have one last hit-out tonight before they head to the World Cup. South Africa will provide the first test of the new-look squad. Clint Stanaway filed this report from ANZ Stadium.
Well, in many respects, this is one last chance for the Socceroos players to shine ahead of the trip to Brazil on Wednesday and to build some much-needed momentum. Of course, the squad will be cut from 30 men to 27 tomorrow morning, so plenty to play for tonight for the Socceroos boys. So much has been made in the lead-up to the fact that this is a relatively inexperienced Socceroos squad. That it is, but up against a terribly understrength South African side, the Socceroos are expected to easily hold their ground.
Every opportunity you have to put on the green and gold shirt, you have to take it 100% seriously and make out as if it might be your last game. And these guys are in a fantastic situation, a position where they're here representing their country, and they're going to put on a great show, hopefully, and stake their claim for a starting position.
And they will get a heap of support here from the Green and Gold Army tonight at ANZ Stadium. In terms of the crowd, 50,000 are expected to flock here to see the Socceroos in action, and with the biggest sporting or soccer nations waiting for them over in Brazil, this could be just the ultimate farewell gift for them.
The Matildas have fallen at the final hurdle in their quest for back-to-back Asian Cups. Despite the Aussies controlling much of the match, Japan scored the only goal. The Matildas will still take plenty of confidence from the tournament into next year's World Cup. Closer to home and in the Women's Premier League, the emerging Jets held on to second spot with a win over Valentine. Merewether easily outclassed Football Mid-North Coast, while Adamstown smashed Thornton. The latter leaders showed no mercy to the Redbacks, who have only won one game so far this season. Jets W League star Riley Dobson then displayed the talent that saw her called into the Matilda squad. The 11-0 scoreline ensures Rosebuds maintain a 6-point gap at the top of the WPL ladder. Returning to league and in Group 21, Scone dished out an absolute hiding to Aberdeen. The final score, 80 points to 0. It was much closer between Greta Brankston and Singleton, with the Colts winning by 2, while Musselrook hammered Denman. She missed out on a place on our Commonwealth Games team for Glasgow, but Katara's Tegan McCloy is determined to prove she's the top female trap shooter in the country. Later this week, the 20-year-old will fly to Germany to take on the world's best.
Tegan McCloy is probably the best athlete you've never heard of. A former junior national champion, she won a silver medal at the World Championships in 2010 as a 16-year-old. This year, she made the step up to the senior ranks at the Australian titles in Perth and finished as the best female clay target shooter.
Over the last 12 months, I've had some massive ups and some massive downs. But towards the end of last year, start of this year, coming into the Nationals, I was feeling quite confident with a medal position, but to take the gold was phenomenal.
The sport is truly in Tegan's blood. She first competed at the age of 12, following in the footsteps of 3 generations of her family.
I didn't fall into it because I had to, because they did it. It's something that I've actually loved growing up.
Despite being the current Australian women's champion, the 20-year-old was disappointed not to earn a place on our national team for the Commonwealth Games. Instead, the apprentice electronics technician will head to Germany this weekend to compete at the 3rd World Cup event for 2014 hoping to win her way to the World Championships in Spain. With just one spot up for grabs on the Aussie team for Rio 2016, Tegan is no guarantee of featuring at the Olympics either. But try telling her that.
I have a competitive drive in whatever I do, so for me, I want to be the best, and coming second isn't good enough.
Mitchell Hughes, NBN News.
Yeah, good on you, Tegan. She'll get there.
Oh,
Yeah, indeed.
No doubt about it.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you. Well, they come from remote East Arnhem Land in Northern Australia, but the Elcho Island Chookie dancers are known around the world. And they're in Newcastle tomorrow night with a new show. The dancers became a YouTube sensation with their take on Zorba the Greek.